And we're off to another episode of hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. That is me. That is me. And you are? Who are you? That don't matter at the moment. I wanted to talk about Kelly Ripa. Oh, do I love me some Kelly Ripa. And I really want to talk about the show. Well, it's called Live essentially because it was Regis and Kathy Lee live and Regis and Kelly live and Kelly and Michael live. And for all of these years, it's been Kelly and Ryan, and Kelly was doing all the heavy lifting, and Ryan was, I don't know what Ryan was doing. So this is like, hooray, he's gone, But what we're going to talk about specifically is the dynamic of the show for sure, and what we feel about Mark Consuelos as the new permanent co-host. And do we, as people, want to watch a couple on television? The perspective that I'm going to give is, what my love and affinity for broadcast. I always say that since I was a kid growing up, I would always, even watching like Johnny Carson or David Letterman or Jay Leno, like I loved the concept of a talk show. So that of course did, that was also the same vein of watching Regis and Kathy Lee. And, Kathy Lee on the original show, I didn't love all the way because I was younger. But Kathy Lee, when she was with Hoda, which to this day I will say that was a superior show than the one with Jenna Bush. I think that's all wrong. That needs to be recasted. I should really be making these big decisions. I should be a shot caller, big baller. That's what I think. And I've got the experience, so shut up if you don't like it. Anyways, I didn't like Kathy Lee as much. Not that I didn't like her, but Kathy Lee and Regis, it was like Regis was the man. Kathy Lee was a little like much for me. But as I've grown older, I can respect everything that Kathy Lee brought to the table. Even her cornball moments still work. She's dynamic to me. But again, I ended up liking her more on the show with Hoda. That was the combination that felt like a good chemistry. Not that Regis did not. Regis to me, I just really enjoyed. Now, was he the easiest to work with? I don't know. Like it does sound like when Kelly Ripa was last out, promoting the book, there were some stories, but at this point, you just got to let it be what it was. I think the one thing I want to really hammer in on, aside from that, I think Ryan Seacrest really did not bring anything to the table. When I say anything, I mean anything. And I'm going to talk from my perspective because though he's successful, and so, because here's the number one conversation that goes on these days. If you make a critique to anyone, it's always their numbers and their success versus yours. I'm successful today. Just because no one's caught up with that, or some people haven't caught up with that, doesn't mean anything. I can still have my critique, and it's not to be pulling anyone down. I'm saying in the landscape of a two-person co-host, a situation that I've done, because again, I've been in radio since 2002. I was in the same building in the Clear Channel building when, he eventually, Ryan Seacrest, went from the one station, Star 98.7, got on Idol, left, and then came on to Kiss FM where he is currently. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's fantastic and he's a huge success. But did he fall asleep at the wheel in terms of having morning show banter? The answer is yes. Not morning show for the radio, morning show with Kelly. Where I have a little bit of, there's a couple things I want to really break down. There are three things, basically. How much I love Kelly and Mark together. So that will be the last thing we'll talk about. Why I feel like Ryan was falling asleep at the wheel and leaving Kelly to do all the hard work. That's another part. And then the other part is I need to get to the bottom of this, and this might be more than one episode, but I want to get to the bottom of why we are constantly deeming Kelly as hard to work with, when in my mind, I could be wrong. In my mind, maybe it's because I've been around so many in my career. I've been around so many stern but amazing and fierce women. You know what I mean? Like people who were about their business and always, like they always won. Like Kelly has won quite a bit. She keeps on winning, And I always wonder, like, where do these reputations come from? You know, you put somebody like me who understands and respects the structure of all of these things. I could be around, in theory, I could be around a Kelly Ripa type and be totally like, okay, she has had to put her foot down, but it's for the common good of the show. It's for the common good of everyone elevating and bringing their best to the table. And you know, I hate to do this concept of it, but it's like, you know, and it's sort of like the luxury or the privilege of me being a man. Like, can I say, hey, boom, I need this done, you know, hey, production assistant, you know, respectfully, blah, 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 blah. And will it be received in a way that it's received as Kelly Ripa, as a woman? You know, I have a little bit of empathy for that, and I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I just, in my heart of hearts, and hopefully it's not a bias. Like, it could be my bias that I think Kelly Ripa is so dynamic at what she does. I think she's so good. She makes it look easy, and everyone's like acting like she's on some free ride, like getting like, what a great job she had. No, she's putting in the work. In my mind, Kelly Ripa is putting in the work. I like her a lot. And so that was one thing that I really wanted to break down, is why does she keep constantly getting deemed or depicted as a little bit rougher or bitchier? I will say a little bit of it saddens me. But you know, she is also a big girl. You know, the job is the job, and the job is to take critique and take criticism and have thick skin. But there is just such a part of me, and maybe I would be wrong. Maybe if I, you know, worked on a project with Kelly Ripa or worked on production, you know, I've worked some media and television production type things over the years. And if I worked for the Kelly, and I guess in this case it would be Kelly and Mark Consuelos, like, maybe I would be like, oh yeah, she's a little, you know, not easy to work with. But I also feel like maybe we're not giving her a chance to be the winner that she is. So it's just something that, even though it's been said one way, I squint, I look, and I think, no, Kelly's not the problem. Okay, so anyways, who cares about that? Let's just say everything's on the up and up. She's excited, new opportunity, boom. We'll talk about Mark in a moment. But first, I want to talk about why, in my mind, and here's what it is. It's also dynamics together. So it's not boo Ryan Seacrest per se. It's how the chemistry and the camaraderie works together. It's something that in my, you know, like I said, you could say, well, you ain't successful, so what do you know? No, but I am. So I do know the dynamic between connecting and how the two people banter, and who's, you know, doing the heavy lifting and who's just like, you know, eating cheesecake, like just taking the paycheck. So on some level, it's not me knocking Ryan per se. It's me saying Ryan might not have fit with Kelly, which makes me wonder, did he even want, I mean, I don't think he ever wanted to live in New York, that, in my opinion. So did he? Okay, I have some theories. I want to talk about them. They're nothing shady, but let me do a quick commercial break. I need a minute to drink my water, and I will continue to talk about coming up in a little bit here about Mark Consuelos and why I think he'll be good for the show, and where I think it didn't work with Ryan. Now, one could say it did work because they had all these seasons, but let's take a beat. Here's a word, and then I'll be back to talk more about it.
Well, hello there. Thank you for watching and supporting the show with my good friend, Ronnie Jr. Who the hell am I? Great question. My name is Mark Rodriguez with Mastermind Media, and I wanted to take just a moment of your time to let you know about all the other incredible things this guy, Ronnie Jr. has going on. But first, before we get into that, please comment, like, and subscribe. That is how he grows here on these channels. But one channel you probably don't know about is patreon.com/randomlyRonnie Jr., where he's got a bunch more exclusive content. So please check that out. But speaking of YouTube, let's go back to YouTube for a second. He's got this hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. and it shows all of his stuff in his days in radio from back in the day, all the way up to present day, and his new interviews, podcasts, just videos across the board. So please check that out, because when you think about content creators, there's millions of content creators, but there's only one, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Let's get back into the show.
That's right, Mark. Those are words to live by. Mark, one of the creative consultants in my own YouTube project and podcast, et cetera, et cetera. So listen to him and go on my Patreon and make it rain. Show some love to me, because I ain't got the big station or network behind me, but we're still doing what we're doing. Okay, so to radio. Radio has been my first love. So this is where I will link in where I feel like it just didn't work with Ryan Seacrest. Oh, you know what I didn't add? But I want this episode to be quick, so I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time. Are we all exhausted and tired? Look at me. I don't even have a haircut. Busted. Look at me all busted. Surprised anyone listens to me. Look at you. Look at you randomly. You don't know anything. But I do. Actually, maybe I don't. Anyway, here is my concept, my theory, my struggle in terms of watching the show and why I felt like it didn't work. But also a quick nod. I think going before Ryan, I think Michael Strahan did work with Kelly. I mean, I do feel like ultimately she was hurt when he left, and sort of her being the last to know about it. And again, that was one of those moments where everyone's like, "Oh, Kelly's, I don't know why. Oh God, I need to not go on a tangent, but these things are so important. Why, if Kelly, who had been involved with the network for so many years, and simply says, I would have appreciated a little bit of a heads up from the network or from him. And this is not about her versus him, but let's say the network, her being with ABC for such a long time. She did that sitcom for a little bit, Hope and Faith. I think it was called. And then, the soap opera stuff, and, this opportunity that has been such a long time. I mean, I think when she started Regis and Kelly, she didn't even have kids at all. And now she has 3 kids. And for the most part, they're all grown kids. So anyway, she's been giving to this network. And of course, some could say, well, the network is giving to her. Right. Good. And she's earned it too. That's the thing. Kelly has earned it. So stop acting like it's like a handout. Not that you're acting that way. So anyway, what I'm saying is, why is it that she would have mentioned, oh, I wanted a little bit more respect and the network to kind of clue me in, and that got received as she was like bitchy or something? I don't know. That really like bugs me. Again, pretty heavy Kelly Ripa fan right here. Okay, so let's get out of that. Throughout the duration of Michael and Kelly, I thought it was like fun. Now, where I had a problem and I fell asleep at the wheel, just like Ryan, was once Ryan got there. So my question is, did Ryan ever want the show? And what I'm saying by that is, he clearly, because after the announcement that he was going to leave the show, it's like already back in California. He's already got his feet back into California, in theory. And so my thought was like, did he want to go and acquire the show and sort of take it back to LA with him, and maybe even bring in a new co-host? Was that the agenda that he thought he was going to have? I know I am so out of line for even like insinuating that, but I sort of don't understand. I don't understand why he went to New York, a place he doesn't want to go to. Great show. I get it. But then also, while in New York, not necessarily like living in New York. I mean, I grew up in Southern California. Like I said, Burbank, Clear Channel, as I mentioned earlier. Ryan Seacrest, when he left Star, then came to Kiss. Rick Dees was the talent before at Kiss FM. I later worked years later at another station with Rick Dees, so I had like a personal relationship with him at the time for about a year. So I've like followed radio a lot, and I do know the people who don't necessarily want to thrive in New York. You could kind of see it. They want to be in LA. So my thing is like, yeah, the opportunity was there, but like, it feels like once he got there, he wasn't like living in New York, which is such a paramount moment. Because, I've lived in New York for 7 years on and off. It's such a paramount moment into how you bring that into the show. You bring in those stories, that banter. Oh, and another thing. Sorry, I know. Sidetrack. Ugh. It's not that I'm sidetracked. I'm just passionate. My battery is getting low, as it says right there. So we gotta hurry. The last thing you should know before I lay into Ryan Seacrest in a respectful way. I have wanted I think I kind of mentioned this a second ago. I have wanted my entire life to be either, I mean, the show's not on the air anymore, but the host of TRL, like Carson Daly. Carson Daly, huge icon for me, huge role model in ways, especially because the way he presents himself and the way he does his broadcast, it's almost as if he's not, the skill set is that he makes it look casual. But what people don't know is that is a skill set in itself. Anyway, what I'm saying is I respectfully love talk shows so much. And I, to this day, even when I started into the YouTube space, which I did not want to do, I more so wanted to stay in the space of like, okay, I have a huge resume already, this, and this. I want to kind of like grow within that. But then as I learned, everything was about the numbers and also creating your own. And also creating your own, there is some business elements to that is just really smart. So I'm happy that we've gotten here. I'm happy. But when I was creating my stuff, I remember saying, well, it could take, this many years to quote unquote succeed. And again, what is success? I'm succeeding today. Whether you've caught up with that, kiss my ass tomorrow. I'm succeeding now. That's how I'm getting busy these days, in my mind at least. I don't know if there's a fan base, but I love me. So when I was doing it, I remember clear as day saying, okay, well, if you're going to do this, what is the goal? What is the objective? Where are you trying to go? And I had always said, I was like, I would like to do a Kelly and I mean, I guess I said Ryan because he was the one hosting the show, but I remember saying, when I get that level of success and, the power players in the industry are, ready to do something with me. I remember just thinking, all I want is that I could do a show that is like a Kelly and Ryan, the format at least. And it was at that moment that I said, why is Kelly doing all the work? And I have done radio for so many years that I know what it is like when the co-host is coasting along and you are moving all the heavy lift. You're doing all the heavy lifting. And the other person, if like they won't bring a lot to the table and you bring a lot to the table, but if you don't, everything's boring and stale and not compelling and you don't grow. But if you do it and they skate free, but you're getting paid the same amount, and it's not about money per se, but you're getting treated the same way, that's challenging. I can name off the top of my head 15 in terms of radio, because radio was the thing I loved. Must I show more photos of me? Let me show a couple more photos of me. Must I remind you that I've been around radio for so long and the dynamics of talent and, the on-air banter and the chemistry and all that I can name a lot of people who have, this one has done the work and then this one has sort of gotten to skate by. Now, one could say, and I'll let it be, one could say, well, Ronnie, you don't know nothing about nothing, which, okay, what you got? One could say, well, Ryan's job was to deliver, it's called copy, deliver the copy and, keep the show on track. Right. And I get that, but he wasn't giving anything. That's what I'm telling you. And I'm also a little bit sort of like not upset about it, but I have done this so long. So, 2002, obviously, it's a pretty good amount of time. And I'm not being negative. I go ahead, Ryan Seacrest, you got all that money, so you're happy and you're good. And Team Ryan Seacrest, great. Woo hoo 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 hoo. But I guess I just end the episode here. But I'm just gonna say that I wish that yes, even if you're the one who more so is going to be driving the information and the contest and the keeping everything on track, don't leave your co-host out to dry, what is it called? What's the term? See, maybe this is why I have not succeeded. Don't leave them out to dry. Is that the term? Out to dry. Maybe my voice doesn't sound good. Maybe that's why I have not succeeded. Let me hear my voice. Me. Oh no, got a good voice. We're good. Yeah, don't leave your co-host out to dry. Like, receive them. Like it's a very, I've been involved in hosting classes, I've been in improv classes, and again, radio since 2002. And it's not about me bringing me into this conversation. It's about me seeing such an opportunity that people would just do anything for almost, and then coasting, I've often said when I kind of like decided in my head, I'm like, oh, or not decided, but like understood and really like locked in on it. I was like, Ryan's not doing anything. But again, maybe he didn't want to. I do think it's a challenging thing that, your broadcasters, an art form that I still hold so deeply. Your people of yesteryear, your throw out some old names, look them up. Casey Kasem, Dick Clark, Jay Thomas, all of these names. It was a time where you necessarily didn't have to give as much in terms of your personal life. Your job was to be the best broadcaster. But I think even in that, you still had like little subtle moments about your wit, your charisma that like still seeped in within the way you your inflection and your tone. I just don't think Ryan did that. In my mind, I would love to wonder if Ryan's original intention was to grab the show, so to speak, and take it back to LA with another co-host. I know that's a big, bold, like, maybe, but it just seems like what was happening was never what he wanted. Anyways, who cares? He's gone and he's making a lot of money and he's powerful. So he probably will not love my critique, but maybe he would, because my critique is very authentically awesome. Ooh, I like that. Authentically awesome. Who am I? But here we are. Okay. Why I love Mark Consuelos. Of course, he's gorgeous. Mark Consuelos is so fine to me. And Kelly gets to just be up on that. Oh, Kelly, I just love Kelly. I just envy you, girl. I just envy you so much. I do not have jealousy per se. When jealousy comes within, I try to like maneuver through it. But in this case, I'm just like, wow. Mark Consuelos. Okay, so we're wrapping up the episode. All of what I've talked about has been more the previous stuff. Why does Kelly get received the way she does? Did Ryan Seacrest do? What did he do? Did Kelly do the heavy lifting? What that felt like? Will she miss Ryan? Those we've talked about all those things. I just simply want to say that in most cases, I'm not really feeling like a couple duo works, which is weird because remember when Regis would do the show not with Kathy Lee but with his wife? It always felt really comfortable and warm. So in theory, it should work, but it doesn't usually. I just have this thing in my head that, and again, it could be the bias of, Mark Consuelos is so fine. Ooh, so fine. That man is such a cutie. Kelly, you get to look at that every day and at the house. Oh my God, Kelly, I can't take you, Kelly. I just think they're going to work. I don't know if that's based on, I'm also very interested to hear what he has to say. There might've been a time where he has had to sort of humble himself, because I think over the last couple of years he's popped up a bunch, but there had to have been those years where Kelly was, I don't want to say the breadwinner, but she probably was actually. And it's not even about her being the breadwinner or not. I just think, unfortunately, the way society has it, sometimes men's ego can get bruised, and they, feel a little bit uncomfortable if the woman is like, shining as much as they are. I don't know if he ever went through that, but it just feels like the right time is what I will say. So maybe there was a time he wasn't working as much. Maybe there's a time in the most recent couple of years, it does seem like he's been everywhere actually. But to come off of that, an actor's life is, even as big as they are, it is a challenge. So to come off of that and to come into this opportunity, I think it's the right time. I'm not sure where they are at. They have the 3 kids. Is it 2 of them that are, I don't know. Are they empty nesters already? These are all the fun things that we're going to see on the show. And again, like I said, in most cases, I don't really love it. I don't really feel like it has the compelling wow factor. But based on everything that we've seen that she could accomplish and where he's maybe at, and, I really enjoy that feisty. It wouldn't be feisty. That flirty energy that they kind of give. And it's also very nice to see, the thought process that we had at day one versus what we would have now has changed so much, because, these news cycles are so polarizing. Sometimes we just want something good to dive into. But sometimes that doesn't work in terms of like when it feels phony. I don't like, in terms of Wendy Williams leaving, and Sherry Shepherd coming in. I feel like Sherry Shepherd like gives you she tells you, I'm gonna give you the feel good show, and it's like, just give me the feel good show, and I'll probably feel good. But when you tell me I'm gonna give you the feel good show, usually it's like feels very hollow. Sherry Shepherd feels hollow. This does not feel hollow. Again, we don't know how it's going to actually be, but there's a lot of excitement that I have. I'll probably come back and do another episode where I'm like, oh, I really love it, or this is what they could change. I'll tell you one thing they can change. You're looking at a field reporter right off the bat. Randomly Ronnie Jr. along with Kelly and Mark, Gelman over here, Deja Vu over here. I mean, this is the show we need to build. And you know I'm right. Kelly knows I'm right. See, I think if Kelly met me, she'd be like, oh, randomly. Yeah, he's different. He's cut from the cloth. Come on. But my time will come. And also I will build something else of my own. But what this episode really was about, without, credit to Ryan Seacrest, I don't want to be that harsh. It was just a critique. I want everyone to succeed. This was mostly about motivation and inspiration. I said all that, and now I'm over here being kumbaya. But it really was, because this is what I've cared about my whole life. So when I see it not being on track, or what's going on, I can't let that thing that inspired me to want to do this as a career. And everyone who will tell you, who has done these types of things, other things too, music and acting and screenwriting, all the things, you go through so much to get there. And so I'm feeling, again, like I'm already there, but there's still a long way to go. And so when I see that source of inspiration, a show that I feel like in my head I've already modeled the whatever you would call it. In this case, it's Kelly and Mark. In my case, it would be Randomly Ronnie Jr. or Ronnie and such and such. I see that in my head today. So that's why I'm so passionate. Just for the record, that's why I'm so passionate. Mark Consuelos, gorgeous. Kelly, so beautiful. I think they're going to connect. I think this is going to be a huge rejuvenation in this ABC series. ABC has went through a couple of things with TJ and Amy Robach, leaving. So it'll be interesting to see where ABC goes. And, one of the things that it does is it inspires competition, so like, will other networks, be making a phone call to Ronnie, ring, randomly, are you ready to go? Do you have a female co-host on deck? Of course I do. And then I could be on another network. And then, of course, at that point, then Kelly and Mark don't stand a chance. Oh my gosh. The way I love myself. Self-love. Anyways, I want everyone to check it out. Kelly and Mark, come back into the comments and write what you think of the show. If you think it has long-term success, or is it on its last leg? I probably feel like you're going to say it's going to be successful, because Kelly is a success. Mark is a success, and I too, and you are a success as well. All right, we got to get out of here, and we'll be back for the next episode.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.